Hi guys. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about emotions and how important they are, and specifically anger. And probably most of you are going, no, not anger. I'm not angry. And the reason I want to talk mostly about anger is because I'm learning that anger is actually one of the most prevalent emotions that is suppressed in people, and specifically people with limbic impairment or with mind-body syndromes. Anger is one of those emotions that for a lot of us is taboo from the time we're a child. For whatever reason, we don't want to be angry, or we're not supposed to be angry or not allowed to be angry, and so we suppress it. And I'm learning more and more how it's the suppression of our emotions that get us to where we are today with limbic impairment through trauma or whatever has brought on those emotions that we have not dealt with and we have suppressed. Without going into a lot of detail, I do believe that a lot of it comes from our childhood. And for me, I have mentioned it in some other videos that I've done about childhood trauma. I do come from a background, I was born into domestic violence. And so I came from a family that there was a lot of stress, a lot of trauma, a lot of violence. My dad was an alcoholic, and he was a good person when he wasn't drinking, but when he was drinking, he was violent towards my mother. And so I lived in an environment where there was a lot of anger, not just from my dad, but there was anger all around me in various ways, bad tempers and things like that. So I grew up where anger to me was a very scary emotion, and something that I guess I learned along the way that that's something that I will never be. I will never be an angry person. And then moving forward into relationships in my life, I've also been in relationships with angry people. And I have always been the one that's more mild-tempered and patient, and never ever even questioned like whether I was angry or not, whether I was holding anger inside. It was just something I never looked at. So what I'm learning is that people that have limbic impairment or these mind-body syndromes tend to have very similar characteristics in their personalities, like being a people pleaser and being a perfectionist, being a person who performs and is always trying to do what's right and make everyone happy. And unfortunately, as wonderful as some of those characteristics are, and it makes us seem like we're nice people, which we are, but I think we're afraid to show any negative emotions. Back to when I was a kid, when I was about 12, and I see this now through the lens of like limbic impairment and OCD, obsessive compulsive type behaviors. I had an eating disorder when I was 12, and that was all about not feeling my feelings, not being able to express my feelings, and needing to have control in my life. And what could I control? I can control my body. I could control what I was doing, what I was eating, my calories, exercise, all that kind of thing. But it was also a huge distraction from feeling my feelings. You know, even as a young girl, I was stuffing everything. I was stuffing negative emotions like anger and sadness and fear and anxiety and all of that. But I was also getting to the point where I wasn't feeling even anything good, because you suppress your emotions long enough, you kind of go numb and you don't really feel anything. So anyway, yeah, so there's the anxiety aspect, the fear, there's anger, frustration, holding grudges, bitterness, and then there's sadness and fear and regret and shame and loneliness and all of that. And we can go our whole lives feeling those things and not dealing with them and suppressing them our whole lives. And then we wonder why we're in the state we're in now. And yes, I mean, the brain retraining programs teach us that we have to change the patterns of the past, and redirect our brains and all that kind of stuff. But and they do mention a little bit about emotions, but I think emotions might be an even bigger part of it. And the heart, we can't forget to look at the heart. We're looking at the brain a lot, but we have to look at the heart, and that's where a lot of the emotions are. I mean, it's the emotions are also in the limbic system in the brain, but the heart is the seat of emotion. So I'm wondering if you guys are willing to really sit still and ask yourself, like, what am I suppressing? Like, what kind of things have I been feeling that I'm not dealing with? Not just from the past, but in our current situations. Because I know for me lately, because I'm more aware of my patterns and stuff now from doing brain retraining, I'm seeing a lot more that I do have some anger, that I do have some negative things coming up, or things that I am trying to keep from coming up. And I'm realizing how we have to learn to let ourselves feel our feelings. We can't keep suppressing everything, because that's what makes us sick, and that's what keeps us sick. We can't keep holding our feelings down. They need to be expressed, and that's why the brain is giving us symptoms and giving us sensations, because it's trying to express these emotions that we won't let ourselves express, so it's giving us symptoms. So I wanted to share, I'm sorry if this gets kind of long, but I wanted to share several different things. I looked up some scripture verses, because a lot of this stuff it's right in the Bible. So if you want to grab a pen or something, if you do want to write these down, I'm just going to read a couple of Bible verses. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Be not quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the heart of fools. Now, when I read these, I am keeping in mind that we are people that suppress our anger. And we're thinking, I don't get angry fast. I'm not quick to anger or whatever. But we are getting angry. We're just not expressing it. We're just shoving it down. So keep that in mind as I read these. Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Don't give the devil a foothold. That one, that's a really important verse. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. I looked up foothold, and that's a place where we give him an opportunity to lead us into sin. So if we go to bed angry, we're leaving an open door for the enemy to come in and lead us into holding a grudge, resentment, bitterness, and all that stuff that we do not want to have. There's another verse that says that bitterness can eat us up like a cancer. So we need to acknowledge any anger we have and deal with it. Go to the Lord, ask for forgiveness, ask him to help us feel our feelings. Because anger is not wrong. Anger is not wrong. It can become wrong if we do become bitter and hold grudges against people and mistreat them and stuff. But anger in itself isn't wrong, and we need to learn to acknowledge it and express it and feel it. Okay, then Ephesians 4:31, let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Hebrews 12:15, watch out for that root of bitterness that can grow inside of you, because it causes trouble and it can defile a person. Okay, a couple more. Psalm 139:23 and 24, David is expressing this. He says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there is any wicked way in me, and lead me in the everlasting. Then Proverbs 15:13, a glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is crushed. But see, if we have sorrow in our hearts, but we're not even acknowledging it, we're not even if we have sadness, regret, we're still grieving over a loss, and we have not even acknowledged these things yet, loneliness, frustration. If we're not acknowledging these things and we're just shoving them down, that's not good. We're not going to get better if we don't acknowledge these things that we're feeling and squashing. Proverbs 4:23, keep your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life, or the issues of life. We need to guard our hearts. We need to know what is in there and deal with it. Okay, and then the final one I had for this is Psalm 32, and this is where, I think this is where David had sinned with Bathsheba and stuff. But he says, blessed is the one whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the one whose sin the Lord does not count against them, and in whose spirit is no deceit. This is the part that really hit me. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy on me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. So when David was not acknowledging his own sin and keeping it all inside, not speaking of it, he was physically ill. So whether it's sin or just trapped emotions, or sin that we don't realize is sin, because if we're not even acknowledging our anger or bitterness or anything like that, then we could have sin that we don't even know we have. But once we know it, then we can confess it and God will forgive us. But I was just trying to make the correlation between sin and things that we are not acknowledging and how they can affect us physically. So the last thing I wanted to share is I am getting some coaching right now from the pain PT who does the TMS, the mind-body connection. I'm just getting a few sessions with him. But I just wanted to share a couple of things. One of the things that he did say, and I've seen in some other things, is that anger is one of the most prevalent emotions that people have trouble with, that they suppress. But so under the heading of anger, these are how I'm going to read a list of sensations in the body that they can connect to anger, like symptoms or sensations that fall under the category of anger. Hot, burning, stabbing, tired, sharp, tense, inflamed, irritated, aggravated, poking, pinching, clenched, pressure, intense, shooting, splitting, strong, blinding, drilling, and jabbing. And I have a list here for fear and for sadness as well, but I don't want to make this video longer than it already is. So I just wanted to share that with you, because our bodies or our brains will give us sensations when when we've suppressed certain emotions. So I just wanted to share that with you. So sorry this was so long. I hope that it was helpful. And we got to deal with stuff, guys. We can't keep going around stuffing our emotions and letting that subconscious stuff control our lives. We got to get on this stuff. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Bye.